Genius Brain listeners, this podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. As I always say, and you guys might be tired of hearing it, but you're not, because you're all about it. Mental health is mental wealth. Look, every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. And guess what? In 2025, maybe you're ready for a plot twist, or maybe there's a part of your story you've been wanting to revise, and that's where BetterHelp comes in. Think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters in your beautiful, beautiful life. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide, and you can access a very diverse network of credentialed therapists. So remember, my friends, write your story with BetterHelp. All you got to do is visit betterhelp.com/genius today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/genius.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. This is going to be one of the noisiest podcasts you will ever hear in your life, and I really don't care. Listen, for this podcast, I had to record it this way because I don't have a lot of time. As you guys know, I am a new dad, and, you know, I got to post a podcast a week. I have another year left on this contract, but, you know, as we talked about this too, like, I'm getting progressively more busy in my life, and because I am more busy, it just becomes way harder to do things. And this podcast takes up a lot of time. So just to give you guys perspective, right? I have 3 podcasts. I have this one that I do myself, which was just for my own pleasure. And it's been going on for 5+ years now. I have the MMA one, the Casuals MMA, which is one that I really like doing. It's all set in stone. It's really fun. And I have one with me and Tim, which is also really fun. Now, the thing about that is that with this podcast, you know, it makes good money. But the issue with this is that having to schedule everything and do the videos myself, and I understand it's like, okay, well, you could just get a video editor, you could set it up in your house. That costs a lot of money. So when you do that, it's kind of like basically, I would say 60% of your revenue is gone when you could just do it yourself. And at that point, it's like, what's the point of this? It's like all this work and you're just not making enough money anyways. It's kind of pointless, right? So for me, as of right now, I am just finding ways to do this podcast for you guys up until this year. And I have to make other moves because I cannot continue doing 3 podcasts at the same time. It is fucking exhausting. Like, I honestly feel like I'm losing my damn mind. And I've had a lot of conversations with people, and just to kind of break it down, they go, okay, well, if you just, you know, what if you just give it to another editor, which once again costs a lot of money. And then on top of that, if I give it to another editor, they still have to send me back the stuff with edits, and then we have to go back and forth on things that we either need to remove, take out, because I'm repeating stories. So I still have to go through the review process. It is literally the same amount of time, maybe even faster, if I just review the whole podcast myself, because then I don't have to constantly write notes on emails back and forth. So it actually takes a lot longer than me just doing it. So it doesn't really help that situation. As of right now, being a new dad, doing this, we always have Junbi in Hawaii, we have Secret Society, we have so many things going on. It has been a fucking challenge. And like, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this way, where sometimes you just feel like the world is just crashing down on your shoulders, and no matter what you do and no matter how hard you push back at it, it feels like you're not gaining an inch at all. Like you're just being crushed every day. And that's what it's felt like for the past, man, I would have to say it's felt like that for the past 6-7 months, maybe even close to like 2. I'm lying. It's probably felt like this for the past like 2 years. And on top of this, with being a father and adding a kid, could you imagine how much more difficult that is? And that's basically where I'm at. Now, with the podcasting thing, if I do this podcast and I can do like 20 topical podcasts where it's 20 to 30, like a 20-minute podcast each, where we just do it on specific topics and we have a good time, it would be great. But that's not how ads work. They need the podcast to be a minimum of 40 fucking minutes. So 40 minutes to about an hour, which is fine if I was only doing what I'm not. Now, if you're asking me, well, what about the other ones? The MMA podcast is something that's a passion project of mine, and it's growing, it's doing well. It's not making a lot of money right now. It hasn't in a year. That is not something I'm going to let go. I cannot remove myself from it until I get to the point that I want it to be at. And I just don't quit. and I don't quit at something that I really enjoy and I'm passionate about. Genius Brain has been going on for a long time now. And what I've done with it, the people that I've helped with it, the content that I've created from it, it's played its role in my life, and it's played its role for a lot of people's lives. And the hard part about that too is like, look, I haven't been able to create on my channel in a long time. And I haven't been able to do the things that I want on the channel because, look, time is very, very scarce for me. So, I don't know, you guys. I'm just talking my ass off and hearing you guys. Like, in what world could I be in where, hopefully, I could just do 20-minute podcasts and have a single sponsor on it? I think that would be great. I think it would be fantastic. Maybe 2 videos a week where it's 20 minutes and 20 minutes instead of one long video that's 40 minutes. And it could be topical and quick, but I don't know. It's been pretty rough. Well, now that I got that off my chest and you guys are watching this video on a vertical platform as I record this with my earbuds, let's have a conversation and let's talk. You know, this podcast would have been great, obviously, if it was in studio and if I had the time to set this up and all this other stuff, but we don't. But I'm just doing this as I get my walk in because there are certain things in my life that are non-negotiables. When I am stressed, when I am on edge, I have to be active and move around. If I don't, I'm a very, very terrible person. I'm very short, I'm angry, I'm pissed, and I just can't do that. Mariel saw me get very irritated trying to get this done, and I couldn't do it. So now I have to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And so I'm doing this podcast now as I walk. So here we go. One of the questions that I got, specifically because I really logged back into my Facebook, was kind of what it feels like being a dad. And I know I've talked a lot about wanting to be a father, and eventually that is going to happen for me. And when I was saying it, Meryl was literally pregnant. You know, aside from the fact that I don't want my kid to be on social media because of the detrimental effects that social media has on people, and I'm not going to argue with people on that back and forth. If you don't think that social media is poison for your brain, you're fucking dumb. It is poison to a certain extent. And I kind of consider it like alcohol, right? You have a couple of drinks here and there. You're enjoying time with your friends. It's perfectly fine. It's used as a great social tool. It makes you feel good. But if you're doing it every day and you don't have social media and you kind of lose your mind because you're not on it, then it becomes a problem. Social media in the last 10 years has been a huge social experiment on human beings about how what we started to realize too is that a lot of people derive value from what other people say, even if they say that they don't, right? And it has been like that with my peers, and it's been like that with the everyday person. I have never seen so many people so desperate to want to be recognized for absolutely anything. And it doesn't really matter what it is. People want to be recognized for anything, whether it's bad for their mental health, whether it's bad for their family, whether it's bad for them in the long run. If they get this moment where somebody says, hey, that's a fucking dirty bird. Welcome to LA, motherfucker. Somebody's just getting shot, killed in this fucking city. When it gets to the point where you have to sell your soul just to entertain other people because it gives you value, you already lost. You're already a fucking loser. You're pretty much done. And the sad thing is that is all the content that you see online. That's it. The other day, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he showed me this video. It was on this other guy, and he's doing pranks. And he shows it to me. He goes, what do you think about this? And no hate, I just didn't find it funny. He goes, oh, why don't you find it funny? He goes, he has a lot of views. I was like, well, here's the thing. Have we not seen somebody scream in the middle of public before? Like, how many times have we seen this fucking prank? Over and over and over and over and over. People get entertained by the same shit. And I guarantee if we clicked on his profile, we look at everybody who's commenting, it's usually some fucking weirdo, or it's like children. I don't care for content like that. It doesn't mean that what they're doing is wrong or bad or anything else like that. I just don't care. But as you look at this person's videos and you go through it, he has to do crazier and more stupid things because the attention span is getting a lot shorter because people are used to his fucking antics. And I'm just using this guy as an example. Not that, like I said, it's not me making a judgment call about who he is. I'm simply stating to you what happens when you kind of build a platform based on what everybody else wants and not what you want. You don't post because you want to post. You post because you're like, okay, I need value. So I got to deposit it into this thing called social media. I need value. I need to feel worthy. I need to feel like it's important for me to be alive. So I got to go ahead and deposit over and over again. And they're like everybody else that I've seen on the space, what happens to them? They lose their fucking mind. They make these videos. They go, I don't know who my friends are. I don't have no friends. Everybody's fake around me. You're the fake one. It's you. They're fake too, but you guys were all together in your fuckery. But the difference is that you actually think you're better and you're not. And just to go back to my point, God damn it, does somebody die in this city? Forever. You know, I swear in this fucking city, like I've seen that copter around, somebody's robbing somebody right now. Jesus Christ. Either way, what happens is that they're not really reflecting on who they are. And they think that it's everybody else. But really, like when they came into the city, they were kind of using everybody. And they got tired of it. And when they got used, they're like, whoa, this is so terrible. And to be honest with you, I used to think that, hey, that's probably who these people were before social media. And that might be true. But I do think that the more you use an app like this, the more it starts to eat away at your brain. And you're not using it in the proper sense. Like I said, I'll go back to that idea where I was talking about somebody who drinks alcohol. I know people who I drink alcohol, right? How often do I do it? Not that often. Do I get drunk here and there? Of course. But it's not a part of my life. It doesn't affect me like that. Social media is different. It's something that you're exposed to every day. I looked at my screen time the other day. And obviously a majority of it's because I'm doing emails. I have to do work on it. But the other chunk, about 6-7 hours a day, is me on social media. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? Half my life is spent staring at this fucking screen. That's why I chose not to put my kid on social media. I do not want his value to be based on what other people say about him. I do not want his value to be based on this screen that stares back at him. It doesn't reflect who he is.
Genius Brain listeners, this podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. And once again, you might have heard this song on a different podcast than I'm on, but we're singing it again. BetterHelp, BetterHelp is all about that mental health. Oh, there it is. Timmy boy just hopped right in like a little genie. Listen, BetterHelp has been in my back pocket for a very long time. And guess what? The greatest thing that I truly love about BetterHelp is that, you know, just like anything in life, when things don't fit, and everybody has the same fit. And that's the same thing with therapists. I could switch my therapist at any time. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with a therapist. It's just we all got different flavors and different types that work for us. And guess what? The year 2025 is all about writing a good story for me. And that's where BetterHelp can step in to improve your outlook on your own story. So guess what? Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/genius today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/genius.
People may disagree with me. And here's the other argument behind that. They go, well, you know, social media is something you can't block your kids from. It's just a part of life, and you are trying to protect him or something that eventually he's going to have to get to, and we're basically handicapping him. We're technologically handicapping him. So you fucking tard. Nobody said that he won't be able to use it. But it's our job as parents, as people who guide them, to set their values first and get their mentality right before you introduce a screen and let your screen raise your kid. So many people out there who was just born yesterday had this idea that they have life figured out, and you don't. The other part of social media that I absolutely fucking hate are these fucking random experts. Like, so many of you want to be an expert before you actually have something worth showing. What is that? Why do you do that? Why do you create content, or why do you talk to people as if you have everything figured out when you know you don't? The worst person on earth that you could lie to is yourself. That's how it's always been. The worst person you could lie to is yourself, because at the end of the day, if you don't know anything and you're not knowledgeable, but your whole MO is that you are a knowledgeable person, you learn absolutely nothing. that's why when I see this, it's like, what is this trend of like kids always wanting to, like a video that popped up on my feed was like a fucking like 14-year-old girl talking about what being emotionally stable is. Bitch, what the fuck do you know? This video shows you're not emotionally stable, bitch. Get the fuck off this fucking platform. But that's why I chose not to put my kid in front of the screen. That was one of them. The other reason is I had this fear that a lot of good things that happened to me only happened to me because by chance. It's not because of my hard work. It's not because of anything that I've done or anything that I set up. It's only because it's by chance, and that in my life, things are not supposed to be this good. So it's going to get taken away immediately. Right when I settle in, somebody's going to strip it away from me. So I should just be prepared for that. When I found out Mary was pregnant, I was overly excited, very happy, overjoyed. But I also was scared that this wasn't real. That when I wake up the next day, I would get a phone call, or I would hear Mariel say something's wrong with the baby. We go to the hospital, and we would find out that he didn't make it. And I lived in that fear for damn near 9 months. It was nerve-wracking. Like I just, my anxiety was at an all-time high. Because I feel like a lot of the good things in my life, once again, is not deserved. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to have a healthy child. I don't deserve to have a beautiful wife. I don't deserve any of the stuff that I have. So I almost expect every day for my happiness to be stripped away from me. So I didn't want to speak about my kid for the other half, because what if I did and then he was gone? And I would not be able to live. I would die. And that's not something I want to share with people. So that's the reason why I didn't want to talk about my kid. I'm always scared. It's hard not to live in this fear. When you have imposter syndrome, you literally feel like you deserve nothing. Almost at all times. And it's such a weird experience. And I know for myself, and you could ask my Chris, I'm a very hard worker. I have worked for everything that I've done. Nothing was ever given to me. But it still feels I don't deserve it. When I was in the hospital and Mariel gave birth, I spoke about this where I kind of broke down in the hospital. I couldn't stop crying. And in fact, that went on for weeks, maybe months. Because it was almost surreal, right? I couldn't believe what I was witnessing, what I was watching. And this like crazy amount of emotions came over me. You know, I joked about it on the podcast, but I don't know how much people actually believe me, but it was very real. I cried thinking about not my child or my wife. I cried thinking about others. Because there are other people who have had kids who experience the very thing that I was scared of. There are fathers and mothers out there who gave birth to their kids, or mothers out there who gave birth to their fathers who had their first child, who never got to experience this stuff because their child was taken away by some freak accident or something happened. I don't know what it is. And I started crying for them, that this is a moment that they didn't get to have, that I was blessed with. And once again, it goes back to that thing. It's like, why do I deserve this? And how come they don't get to experience this? How is it fair that they went through everything that I went through and they don't get to have this moment with their kid? And that shit fucking killed me. I couldn't stop thinking about other parents. And so in that moment, I also started thinking about my parents, my mother and father. Oh my God. This fucking helicopter, man. This fucking helicopter is garbage. Get the fuck out of here. There's always somebody doing some shit in this fucking city. I gotta move out of here. But I started thinking about my parents, where, I'm very conscious and very grateful to be in the position that I'm in. And even then, with all these blessings that I have, help from friends, help from other people just assisting me in my life in terms of like donating baby clothes and not being in an area where I'm like financially burdened. And I'm still stressed out about this kid. I'm still stressed. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. How the fuck did my parents do it? Is what I thought. How did you do this? How did you do this? How did you raise me in a country with a language that you couldn't speak, barely making fucking ends meet, somehow managing to open up this business on your last dime, somehow making it work in a shitty fucking neighborhood? How'd you do it? And I started, picturing my mom and dad raising me, having these like difficult, hard times, these hard conversations about their bills, not being able to pay them, somehow managed to still open up a church and help out. How did you fucking do this? My admiration and love and respect for my parents went up. And then I look at my wife, where she's pushing out this child. And it blew me away. I wrote about this on a Facebook post where I said, if you're a father out there and you don't have the opportunity, or you don't get to see the birth of your child, it is an experience that you will never be able to replicate ever again. It is an experience that'll change your life forever. Not only in the sense of how much you'll love your son or daughter, but how much more respect and love you will show and give your wife. I love my wife. Prior to this child, I loved my wife. Watching her go through labor made me love her 10 times more. And it's like to the amount that I never expected. I didn't even think I could love her even more than I did now, but I do. And it's because I got to be there. I watched her put her heart and soul into giving birth to a healthy child, our son. And that was insane. That moment of my life is one of the biggest life-changing moments of my life. I've never cried that much. I never felt so happy. And there are a lot of cool things that I've done. The last thing that I remember that I did that felt not even nearly as good as this was when I got into Sundance with the film that I did. And that was a moment that I can say that I'm very proud of myself for. I'm not sure if I ever told you guys this, or maybe we have. During the time that I wanted to be an actor, and I don't care to be one now. I fucking hate Hollywood. I think it's garbage. But not to say that if people don't want to book me for an amazing role, I'll be a part of that. But the rest of the shenanigans, I'm not doing it. Being a part of this part of Hollywood and being able to do that film, having these conversations with people who genuinely did not believe that I had the ability to do what I did. They didn't think I could do a small role in a film. A small role. So the idea of this film was like, hey, fuck you. You don't know what I'm capable of. And in fact, the people who tell me that I'm not capable of doing something, they don't even have the body of work to show that they're capable of doing something. So where the fuck do you go off telling me what I can and can't do? If you did, if you thought you could do, or if you even knew what talent was, you would be in the position that I'm in and not the other way around, is what I thought. So I had to go out there and prove it. And so with this opportunity that Justine gave me, we did this film that allowed me to feel vindicated. For the longest time, since that film was put out, maybe 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I 7 years ago. Man, it's been a while. I never thought that I would ever feel an emotion even close to how it felt to get into that film festival. I put out a film that went to theater, that had great ratings. And then, having this child. That moment that I had when I found out I was going to Sundance, it doesn't even come anywhere near close. It's like night and day difference. It's pretty insane kind of how life works that way, right? My parents told me that you will never understand what we went through as parents or why we do the things that we do until you have a child yourself. I always thought it was just the biggest load of bullshit. Like, what do you mean? I'm a human being. I can empathize with anybody or anything. Turns out they're right. You don't know what it's like until you have a kid. If you want a child out there, it will change your life. It'll be difficult. It'll be hard. There are moments that I've had where I'm holding my kid and I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, this is so difficult. But the child smiles. I look at the kid falling asleep. I look at him so very peaceful. I hold him and nothing matters anymore. It's just about me and my son and my wife in the moment. So as hard as life gets, when I look at him, it all melts away and disappears. So my parents were right. As much as I could talk about what I know about raising kids or being a parent or anything else, and nothing really mattered until I actually had a kid on my own. And then it starts to put these in perspective in a way that you never really thought about. So when, sometimes like online, you'll hear a bunch of people write, okay, well, you should do this, but you should do that with your kid. And it's like some fucking 20-something, nothing-year-old with nothing to show for their fucking life. It's like, dude, what the fuck do you know? You want to talk about raising a child and what they should be in the future? You can't even get your own fucking life together. Dude, you literally cannot get your own life together. But you have the idea or the audacity to think that you could go ahead and set a life plan for somebody else. Do it for yourself first, and then maybe we'll talk. Hey, for every mom out there, for every father out there, y'all are amazing people, especially if you love and care for your kid and you're doing a good job. If you're a piece of shit, that's different. Go fuck yourself. But I'll say this again. Single moms and single dads, don't know how you do it, but you guys are a special breed of people and you get it done. People with limited resources who raise their children and raise great kids to be at that. I don't know how you do it, but you're getting it done. And I could only hope that even me, with everything that I had, that I could be half as good as parents as those out there who have to do it on their own. I'm amazed. I'm so fucking amazed. And that's another perspective that I had. I already understood that it's hard being a single parent, but now I really, really get it. Anyways, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. Thank you for coming with me on this walk. I'm pretty sure this video is going to be a little fucked up. The audio might not be as good, but we'll get it done and we'll figure it out. Genius Brain every Sundays at 12 p.m. We'll be here for another year all the way till next year, December. After that, no more, but until then, we're just going to have fun. I'm going to try and make this as fun as possible and make sure that I have constant good content coming out. I'm not ever putting out podcasts that I don't want to put out, that I don't think is good, but we'll get it happen. Genius Brain every Sundays at 12 p.m. We'll see you all next time. Thank you for coming with me on this walk, and I love you very much. We'll be back in studio next week. It was a little hectic.